So welcome to part 2 of my TickTick testing review. It has been a while since I used TickTick, but I did want to make another video just to talk about some things that I may have missed and also to talk about the current state of the app. Let's start off with the good stuff. They are one of the best apps with their feature set when you compare them to other task apps in the same relative category. So other apps would include like Todoist, Remember the Milk, Microsoft To Do. So if I were to recommend an app today that's in this category, with the category being a simple task app that does have some additional features that are totally optional. So it's not fully simple, it's not a minimalist task app, but it is definitely simple when you compare it to the likes of a project management app. I would most likely recommend TickTick. It still may depend on certain variables, what that person is looking for. But as a general rule of thumb, TickTick is in my top 3 when making recommendations. Another good thing about TickTick is the overall user interface design. Sure, it's not the most modern, creative interface out there. They take more along the lines of a modern, timeless approach. So the overall layout has definitely been around for quite some time, very similar to the layout of Remember the Milk. They have cleaned up some design elements, refreshed it a little bit. So if you're looking for an app that looks modern, something that'll blend in with the other apps you're using, I think TickTick will be just fine for that. And another good thing about TickTick is their pricing for their premium plan. Very affordable, especially for what they're giving you currently today. They have many new features since they launched, and even some features since I last talked about them in my part 1 video. All right, so let's move on to the bad stuff. The first thing on the list is bugs. They're not like a constant thing, but every now and then there will be a glitchy bug, and it does rub me the wrong way, as some of these bugs are constantly in your face. So a lot of apps will have bugs that are, only if you do something will the bug be triggered. Maybe you can't save something, or maybe a custom setting resets, when you refresh the app. But with TickTick, the bugs are generally visible the whole time. So those are things that bothered me. Another bad thing is that not everything is the same across platforms. So if you switch between the web app and the Mac app, you will notice there are some differences. For example, focus mode is only in the web app. Not all the themes are in the web app, and not all the settings are shared across the platforms. Another not so great thing is small UI design decisions that I just don't agree with. So for example, if you look here on my screen, they added this drop shadow behind the text of the different sidebar categories. Now there's no drop shadow behind the icons, and there's actually no drop shadow behind the text in these little description boxes, just on the category names. And it looks outdated. It wouldn't give me confidence to use TickTick if I were to sign up today and had never seen it. I would look at this and go, oh, this is not good. Definitely a red flag. And especially with this color, yeah, sure, there are definitely yellows where you don't want white as text over it. But I mean, this color is dark enough where you don't need this drop shadow. I mean, look at the white text here over a box that is lighter than this color. Right? It's the same color as this, and I can read this text fine. I don't need a drop shadow. So I don't understand the logic. In terms of design, I don't understand the logic of why they would add a drop shadow if, it would look fine without it. And it didn't have a drop shadow when I did my part 1 video, and I was using the yellow theme then, which I liked. Some people probably would hate this theme, but I liked it. It was different. I don't remember any app using this color theme, at least on productivity. So it was nice that they offered it, but yeah, don't agree with the drop shadow. Another thing on the bad list is the font and font size / spacing. So what I mean by that is we'll just put a task in here just so you can see what I mean. So obviously this font right here is plenty big to read. Now they might have made some changes since my part 1 video, but this font, I'm just not crazy about it. I can read this. This is decent. This is a little too bold. The text kerning is a little too tight between the letters. I think just maybe a little bit looser would be nice. Right here, it's just not, I don't know what it is, if it's the font, the kerning, the size, the weight, or whatever, but I found myself when I had a whole list of tasks. Obviously, I'm not going to type in a million things right now in this video, but so when I had a long list of tasks here, I just found myself not being able to read it right away. It was like my brain needed like a split second to process the font, which is not a common thing for me. So for example, like Notion, Remember the Milk, and things like that, I can read the tasks fine. If I'm trying a new app for the first time, I often don't notice issues, just in case maybe I'm not used to that certain font or not. But yeah, not crazy about the font choice. Could be fixed a little bit. Maybe just the font resizing would be enough. Not sure, but yeah, just finding it difficult to read. Split second, maybe you wouldn't notice it. And while I'm looking at this, because I haven't been in here in a while, I've noticed they like changed the sidebar design here. Like this, I'm pretty sure it used to just go up straight, and now they like curved it underneath. It just doesn't look good. It just looks so bad. I mean, I understand the idea of like having a sidebar. It looks similar to the Mac, like if you would put your Mac dock on the left side, but then down here it just goes straight down, so it's not really like a full, doesn't really match the bottom. And then there's no like division of this, like this is just kind of hanging here, and there's no like top bar division. And I'm not saying you need a top bar, most apps don't these days. I know it's a pain to deal with including these Mac buttons, in a native app like this, but this is just not working. This is just not a great decision. But yeah. And the last thing on the bad list is their support is not always responsive. I'm assuming their team is small, which is fine. I understand that. But when it comes to support, you do have to have enough people on your support team in a healthy ratio to your user base, or at least the percentage of your users that communicate to support, whether it's a feedback or an issue. They usually respond eventually, but there has been times when they haven't responded at all, which is not great. So if I'm using an app like this and it's a central part of my life, especially if I'm paying for the premium plan, that would definitely be a red flag. So in conclusion, the trade-off is flow of new features versus the bugs. If you're someone that likes new features coming in, every few months, or at the very least every year, this could be a task app that you can get pretty excited about, because you won't have to be using multiple apps together to accomplish the same things. So for example, TickTick has focus mode, they have a calendar, they have habits. So if you didn't want to use separate apps for those things, like a separate Pomodoro timer or a separate habit app like, Way of Life, this would be convenient for you. However, bugs in apps, especially if they're visual and constant, would annoy you. But yeah, definitely a trade-off for me. And I could see it being a trade-off for a lot of people that just want to use something that's clean, simple, and no issues. So I would say TickTick is for you. If you just need a list for your tasks, then yeah, this app is one of the best, like I said earlier. If you just need checklists, this is very good for that. If you need an inbox for capturing tasks, notes, ideas, links, things like that don't get too out of hand, then yeah, this would work for that. If you want to share with others, and if you want to switch from another app like Todoist. If you're wondering why I keep talking about switching from Todoist, or why this app is better than Todoist, feel free to check out my channel page of my previous videos, and you will see a Todoist video that I did last year that explains why I'm frustrated with it. But yeah, moving on. TickTick is not for you if you need project management, because this app, though it does have lists, and you may even call these lists projects. It might be projects in your life or projects at work. But at the end of the day, this is not a project management app, because it lacks so many features that allow a person to handle projects that require a lot of intensive care and maintenance and detail and context and all that stuff. So this is not for that. So yeah, definitely not for heavy projects. This is also not for you if you use a lot of tasks, due dates, notes, bookmarks, all that stuff in general, because the more you add to this app, the more bloated it's going to become, and the more you're going to be stuck in it, but also the more time consuming it's going to be, because if you are putting a lot of, we'll just call it items, inside this app, you definitely will feel some more friction and some more time and energy consumption, because it may only take a second to click here and there. Like maybe you want to open up the side panel, do something in there. Maybe you want to maybe you want to change due dates and maybe you want to move things around different lists. Now, if you don't have a lot of tasks, that's actually not a problem. That's normal to do all those things. But if you find yourself having to reschedule tasks on a constant basis and you have like tons of tasks, yeah, sure, you can multi-select, but it's just going to be a constant problem, because if you're constantly doing that behavior, well, then it's going to be adding up more time basically, and it's going to be also adding friction to how you work and how you think, and it's just overall going to hurt the experience for you. So in that case, you want to find an app that's more flexible, has more freedom, and some more features that aid with that, and an interface design that reduces the amount of time spent clicking around. So anyway, I stopped using TickTick after the 1 month period just because it wasn't for me. I mean, I require a heavy project management based app that is flexible. Right now I am using Notion. And yeah, I know I talk about Notion a lot, to the point where I'm coming off as a Notion fanboy. I mean, Notion is really great. You know, I will defend Notion, but Notion is not for everybody, especially for tasks and things like that, since there's no like built-in interface and system for tasks out of the box. And the reason why I'm using an app like Notion instead of TickTick or Todoist or Remember the Milk is because, like I mentioned above, using a simpler app just adds more time and friction to my workflow. So I just started noticing it hurting over time, and I just had to do something about it. And I will be doing a video about my transition to using Notion full-time for almost everything in terms of productivity, or at least the main productivity stuff. And obviously the whole lack of consistency with the themes and the bugs and all that was definitely just another thing to deter me from using it. So that's my take on it. I was going to get more detail, but then I was like, it's TickTick. You know, it's not complicated. It's not rocket science. TickTick is a pretty straightforward app. I respect it for it. I respect people who use it. A lot of people are using it. I recommend it. It's not for me, it may not be for you, it's not for everybody, but it is one of the best task apps out there, at least for right now. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the future, what features they're going to add next, and what their competitors are going to do. If any of this made sense to you or didn't make sense to you, if I'm missing something, feel free to tell me in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram, and I'll see you next time.